Piers Morgan went on the Rubin report for an exchange of ideas. And Piers Morgan goes with the wind, was pretty active in the whole genocide denial piece when it was unpopular to be talking about the genocide in a way that was accurate. And now that it's more popular, he is a better commentator on it. And so, okay.
He still takes a chance to say, like, oh, you were right about this too soon type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to me, Piers, who like was both sides in it the entire time.
And there were a lot of people that were doing that now like act as if they own this cause and are crusaders about it. It's a little gross, to be honest, just given the carnage that we've seen. But this is fun, though, because Dave is so stupid and bad at like rebutting these very basic points.
He's also like kind of non-confrontational. I never noticed this about him, but he really like there's a lot more going on. Not anything intelligent, but there's a lot more going on in his head that he's not saying.
He's a coward.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, he's a coward.
Yeah.
And this is evident here. So here they are talking about Gaza, and Dave tries to argue that there is no starvation in Gaza.
In a way that I've, since this year, had more hammering from the pro-Israeli side. So,
well, you addressed it there. That's why we put that clip in.
And I think that's just
because there has been a shift. That's what I wanted.
No question.
Right. So I think that is so. First off, you acknowledge that there's been no starvation, correct?
No.
You don't acknowledge.
I don't acknowledge that.
Well, there was starvation of the Israeli hostages, but you
yes.
So
can you pause it?
Where are the videos?
Okay. So let's say you acknowledge that there is no starvation. Piers is about to list the numerous organizations that have documented the imposed starvation of the people in Gaza by the Israeli government. But this is where it's just fun, in maybe not fun, but amazing to watch how quickly Dave will leapfrog to his next excuse to almost throw the conversation off. Piers returns to it, but okay, so you're basically saying that there was no starvation except Hamas choosing not to give food to the Israeli hostages. That would be his contention, even though the reality is that if these hostages, and many of them, were in, I think were very thin when they were released, they're impacted by the imposed starvation by the Israeli government as well, because they were in the Gaza Strip, which is an open-air concentration camp where Israel controls the borders, land, and sea.
There's a quote here. This is from my website, Zionism.observer. I've never seen this website before, but it has some good information here. It's just some quotes. The only way to achieve victory is through the complete conquest of the Strip, a total cessation of, quote, humanitarian aid, and the encouragement of immigration. That's Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Minister of National Security of Israel, big-time fascist. Here's another one. Just there's a whole list of them, but this is just the very next one. Quote, Moshe Sader, a Knesset member. I'm interested in starving the Gazans and imposing a siege to the max. Whoever wants to leave will leave to a humanitarian zone that we will administer. So, like, this is not a debate, even among Israeli officials. This was a policy. It's weird that Dave thinks he can talk to, like, fully grown adults who are in the information profession that about his like sort of fairy tales, liberal Zionist fairy tales about this all being lies and blood libels against the Jews. It's not that.
Well, how about Bezalel Smotrich, who said this a year ago? He talked about how the starvation would be, quote, justified and moral. No one in the world will allow us to starve 2 million people, even though it might be justified and moral in order to free the hostages.
Itamar Ben-Gvir, here's another one from this year. The food and aid depots should be bombed in order to create military and political pressure.
There is, like, I mean...
Zero debate about this.
This is literally the equivalent of saying that the sky is green and grass is blue. That's the equivalent.
Actually, it's the equivalent of saying Hitler, there's no proof that the Nazis intended to Holocaust the Jews.
Yes.
That's exactly where they're at right now.
And I think that's just because there has been a shift. That's what I wanted.
No question.
Right. So I think that is so. First off, you acknowledge that there's been no starvation, correct?
No.
You don't acknowledge.
I don't acknowledge that.
Well, there was starvation of the Israeli hostages, but you
Yes.
So where are the videos and images of the starving Gazans?
Well, I've seen a lot, but you would dismiss them all as fakes.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, if you can show me one, I'll tweet
The
it
problem,
out.
okay, here's my problem with this. So the problem is my number one problem with this.
Yeah.
You can say there's no starvation. I can say there's starvation. The UN says there was starvation, but you guys don't believe a word the UN says. The other official bodies say there was starvation.
Israeli officials themselves say we're about to starve them.
Yes.
You don't want to hear a word they say. Israel denies everything. And in the end, the biggest problem is that Israel will not allow, to this day, international journalists into Gaza to do their jobs. And I keep asking, why is that? Because you and I can...
Well, because they're virtually all activists, not journalists.
No, I don't mean Palestinian
going in
journalists.
there. Yeah.
I mean international journalists.
No.
I mean the international.
So where are the videos?
Reuters, let in AP,
such a
let in the
bimbo.
BBC,
All right, pause it
let in
for-
Sky.
Yeah. So where are the videos? They won't let international. There are countless videos. I literally don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know how you can react to that.
I would guess the videos that we've seen that we're talking about were filmed by Palestinians and uploaded by Palestinians, and Dave doesn't consider that
those are activists.
valid.
They're activists.
Exactly, and also anyone who works for any news organization that isn't like I don't know, the Jerusalem Post,
Yeah.
is basically an activist.
But okay, well, the Palestinian journalist, I'm sure he would call terrorists. He's saying basically that any international journalist that would want to go into Gaza, as Piers rattles it off here, Sky News, the BBC, CNN, they're all activists too, apparently. And the images of the thousands of images that you've seen of starving children in Gaza, Dave doesn't believe. Just to summarize where he's at here.
It's also a war zone. It's a war zone.
Yeah, but they operate in war zones all over the world.
But so when this all ended a few weeks ago, when Trump does this thing, where are all the thousands of starving people? I mean, we're seeing videos of restaurants that are
let the
opening up
journalists in to do their job.
But I mean, right now, where are they? These people have phones.
How do you know?
Live stream. What do you mean?
Do you see where they are?
Of course, there are plenty
You
of videos.
can't.
What do you mean? There are plenty of videos.
The media
They
are
have
not
phones.
allowed to do their jobs, Dave.
No.
And I have a big problem.
Can you pause this?
Editor of an
So just to, Dave believes, yes, there's some in the north of Gaza in many ways too, and in other parts of the Strip, they're trying to rebuild their lives, and there have been some attempts to reopen businesses to feed people there. That Dave believes those images very easily,
And resents them.
but the images of the starving Gazan children, he doesn't believe those. It's just interesting what images out of Gaza he chooses to believe and which ones he doesn't.
I mean, this is like, the Zionists are insane. Like, this is like when in the first months after October 7th and all these different, like Jabali or whatever, refugee camps would be bombed. And the Zionists would be like, well, I know what you think. It sounds bad when we bomb a refugee camp. Those refugee camps have been there for 70 years. It's like, that doesn't, and they're semi-permanent structures. That makes it worse.
Yes. Why is that the case? And also, it's also incredible that Dave doesn't have the ability to even address the underlying structural reason here that Israel's even able to cut off food and water and aid. Why would that capacity even exist unless this is a population that is being basically corralled into and kept in a very small area and bombed like shooting fish in a barrel and then starved? If Israel can turn off their water and food, what does that say about the symmetrical or lack thereof nature of this conflict? Let's keep going.
national newspapers.
But the Gazans have phones, and they're showing videos of...
You can say that no Gazan has starved at all. That's entirely your prerogative.
Yeah.
The reports by almost every official body say the opposite, but you don't believe them. My view is you're entitled to not believe anyone, right? It's fine. I had that thing with Meghan Markle. Didn't believe her either. Cost me my job. However, the best way to get to the truth is let journalists who are used to covering in war zones, let them go in and do their job, particularly now we have the ceasefire. So let them go in. There is a reason the Israeli government is not letting the media in. And I fear I know what it is. They are terrified about what the world will uncover.
I just think that's just.
Well, let him in.
I just think
it's one way to find out.
But there are quite literally, I think, almost 2 million Gazans there. They have phones. They're releasing videos now. They're at restaurants. They're out and about. Why did none of the Hamas fighters, when they're releasing the people, look hungry? A lot of them look fat. They have fresh clothes
I've
and
seen
fresh
lots
haircuts.
of images of Palestinians looking hungry.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't dispute that 20,000 plus children have died, right?
So whose fault is that? Because this seems to be the
He
one.
doesn't even answer. He doesn't even answer. He believes the videos that are coming out that confirm that it's all a lie, but not the ones that contradict it.
That's not that guy.
Yeah. I headlined this, but there's this research institute in Germany, the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. It's the Europe's second largest institution for demographic research and one of the largest worldwide. They have said that the minimum in deaths in the Gaza Strip is 100,000. And they emphasize that this is the floor. And these are some of the deaths. When we talked to Dr. Tarek Lubani of the GLIA Project, I asked him a little bit about the true death toll. And there are differences in medicine, basically, in how these death tolls are tabulated. And he basically said the official death toll, the 70,000 or whatever that you're hearing, those are people that have gone to a hospital or their death has been verified and they know exactly who it is. And additionally, the ones that are counted in that way are the ones that are conflict related. So even the starvation deaths that we still don't know the true death toll for are not included in that total. And that is the same in this German analysis. So that is basically saying that even the conflict-related deaths, the total that we've been using, is too low by around 30,000. It's 100,000. And then you have hundreds of thousands of people who are either missing or not tabulated in the death toll. Dr. Lubani gave us this example. If you're in a house and your whole family, 12 of you, or 12 family members out of 16 or whatever, are killed, which is a fairly common occurrence and happened all the time throughout the genocide over the past 2 years. Are you going to go to the hospital and risk being out in the open where you can get shot in the head by an IDF soldier or something, or bombed, in order to have those bodies accounted for by the official Gaza Health Ministry? Or are you going to give your family a burial and try to survive? And none of those people are included in the official death toll. So when Piers Morgan says that international journalists going in there and seeing what has happened is of paramount, preventing that is of paramount importance to the Israeli government, it is because the crime is going to be so much greater than they are allowing the world to know. And Dave pretends like it's all a myth. And you gotta wonder, he was in that meeting with Tim Pool and Benjamin Netanyahu earlier this year. They still talk? Does he have an Edward Gregorian-like figure that's helping him out with his show? I mean, he's shown he has zero scruples about who he takes money from. It's been reported that he's been met with the Prime Minister of Israel, and he was over there flying and, with his aviator glasses and his little vest on in Israel a few months ago. I just have questions.
I mean, I'm sure there's some gifts and stuff being exchanged, although what's not being exchanged is any sort of actual awareness of the situation, because Dave Rubin right now is like people like Steven Crowder at the start of the COVID pandemic were like, what's the worst that could happen? 30,000 people dying? No, it's actually going to be much worse than that. But I'll just point out how uncontroversial this is about Gaza. There's the Free Press, Barry Weiss's Free Press, just a pro-Zionist propaganda rag, published this in May 6th, 2025. The Gaza famine myth, talking about how, basically doing what Dave Rubin said. And even this website had to later go and write maybe we were wrong.
Oh.
Just a month later, in July, or 2 months later, the price of flour shows a hunger crisis in Gaza. There have been tremendous lies told about Israel's war. That doesn't mean the threat of starvation isn't real. It is. The Free Press can never, put it as starkly as it can. The threat of that was a imposed threat by the Israeli government.
Yes. Yes. HJ on Seder says, is this normal Zionist or AI Zionist, Rubin?
It's like AI Zionist because it's like even like I'm sort of shocked by like how bad the Israel defenders, maybe even people on our side of the things that said Rashid Tlaib should apologize for having the gall to say that Israel would bomb a hospital, and then Israel went on to bomb the rest of the hospitals. Like it's shocking to me that, you know, people could make those statements about Israel's capabilities for evil when, you know, they meet those expectations all the time.
Yep. I saw a guy with a house. Homelessness is over. Ramona Frankenstein. Dave Rubin says there are some 2 million Palestinians in Gaza with phones, and that is not accurate. There were some 2 million people, but now there are significantly fewer people because of Israel's genocide. Dave Rubin is a disgusting freak who should go sit on an effing cactus.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.